Good afternoon and welcome to 𝕽𝖆𝖉𝖔𝖘𝖆𝖛 Arena. The Walk of Champions. Edmund in his first major quarterfinal, taking on Grigor Dimitrov, world number 3. It's a big day for the Brit, and that heart will be pounding.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's men's singles quarterfinal action at the Australian Open. Please welcome onto 𝕽𝖉𝖉𝖔𝖘𝖆𝖛 Arena from Great Britain, Edmund.
A big day for the young man from Yorkshire. They make him tough in that neck of the woods, and he'll need all of that toughness today.
And his opponent from Bulgaria, Grigor Dimitrov.
It's been Grigor's most successful major in terms of matches won and the semi-finals reached. And he'll be looking to feed off that success, the energy. Of course, didn't he play so well here 12 months ago? And the boys will be blessed with perfect conditions. A little bit of wind out there, but not too much. And it's around 22 degrees Celsius. It's about as good as you can get at this time of the year. You just speak to some of the players that were playing early on in the week when it was touching 40 degrees Celsius. You get an idea of how lucky these guys are today. But they've earned their corn, earned their places in the Elite 8. Dimitrov having to battle hard against Mackenzie McDonald, and of course Kyle having 2 5-set victories at the same event for the first time. Of course, he beat my fellow countryman Kevin Anderson and then Nicholas Basilashvili on one of those brutally hot days. And speaking of Britain's finest, I've got one alongside me and Mark Petchey. Good afternoon, Mark.
Robbie, thanks very much. Yeah, that's a nice introduction. I think that's a first for everything. Two players that look pretty similar as well in terms of kit.
Gentlemen, before we start, one important thing. At the end of the coin toss, please take a photo with Lincoln facing that way. At the end. Usual things, 5 minutes warm-up, 60 seconds to start a match after, 25 seconds between points. Electronic line calling is in use. Just make a request for challenge and tell the man verbally, and that's about it. If you need anything, something's wrong, let me know. Sure. Any questions, guys? You ready, Lincoln? Grigor. Sure. Serve? Stay serve. Perfect.
Dimitrov winning a toss and electing to serve first. Lincoln's, he's used to the cameras, he's broken out the smile. Nice.
Let's hear it for Lincoln Predigan joining us
from the Hot Shots program. He's looking to find the next superstar out of Australia. Well, Edmund has certainly had a decent start to the season, and it looked for a moment there that it might be disrupted. And of course, he rolled his ankle. And of course, he pulled out of Auckland. I was there, Petch, and we were disappointed not to see him. But as I was saying in the introduction, they make them tough up there in Yorkshire. They're a different breed, aren't they?
Well, I'm sure you're going to say he's got about 3 years of toughness, extra toughness in him as well, haven't you?
Yeah, born in South Africa. It's a good combo, man. But I guess you've been around him a lot longer than
97% British is definitely the predominant gene there, though.
Okay, but I'm sure it's been nice to watch his evolution as a player the last couple of years.
Robbie, he's such a great guy. He's a fabulous tennis player. He's like any player. He's had his growing pains. He's had the advantages of being a player in Great Britain, obviously for various reasons, just the opportunities, some help obviously from that point of view, great exposure. But the downside, of course, is the glare as well, that you play exceptionally well and yet there's a part of you at times that's always feeling as though people expect you to do better all the time. And you know, you don't envy some of the better players coming through in Britain, because that glare is so bright at times that I do think it can potentially stunt your growth, and it can actually lower your self-esteem. I think he's done a phenomenal job in terms of where he's at currently at such a young age.
And speaking about the glare in the UK, this guy hasn't come out of a big tennis playing nation, has Dimitrov, yet there's also been a massive burden of expectation on his shoulders for different reasons. Yeah,
well, the tag, wasn't it? The baby-fed tag was just a bad tag from day one, really. And, you know, given what Roger obviously has gone on to achieve, and, you know, but he wasn't without his growing pains, was he, Roger? You know, the loss to Lewis Horner at the French Open 2003 before he finally, you know, got over his own personal sort of milestone of winning Wimbledon 2003. Obviously, the story since then has just been one that has been stupendous. But there were people quite happy to write poor things about him at that stage, Roger, before he actually got there. And it's been a little bit similar for Grigor because he got tagged with that very early on. And I think it was an unfair tag, to be honest.
And he's mentioned that, and he said he's learnt a lot in the last couple of years, a lot wiser now. Importantly, quick look at the head-to-head, Mark. These guys have played recently in Brisbane, and I can't remember if you called this match or not, but in their encounters, it's been pretty close. How do you see this one unfolding today? Both have been on court for a long time, so that might be an important part of this one. Mariana Cicek will look after this encounter.
Do you know, one of the great sort of sayings of our time is work harder. You know, this is it. You know, like, bottom line is work harder. If you don't put the effort in, you're not going to get it. And that's true to some degree. But what Carl's done, I think, with Freddie Rosengren is just identified what he needs to do better. And I think one of them is the serve, and that was kind of fairly obvious to all of us, that the accuracy on the serve hadn't been there for the first part of his career. And I'm sure his other coaches, Colin Beecher, Ryan Jones, were also trying to work on that, but maybe didn't have quite enough time to get the job done. And that is also a part of coaching, is timing. When you take a player on, is a huge part. The developmental part, the actual I've arrived part, they are three different stages and massively different skill sets for a coach. And why the other thing Freddie brings is an incredible intensity to the side of the court and to practice sessions. Not everybody can take it, and not everybody can take it for long periods, as we see Dani Vavadu, who's also done a wonderful job with Grigor, of course. They got off to an encouraging start, and it just snowballed from there, really. It could have got off to a terrible start, actually, against Sugita back in 2016, when he should have lost that match. He ended up winning it, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Now there's the British camp, Freddie, bottom righter in the red, in Prangley, who's his physio at the moment. Of course, Leon Smith, who is the Davis Cup captain. And it's so true what you say about coaches. You could be getting the same message from Freddie that you were getting from Colin Beecher and Ryan Jones, but you're just at a different stage in your career where you're a lot more receptive to those ideas for some reason.
Well, because the other way hasn't worked, so suddenly you become a little receptive to a different idea, a different avenue. Sometimes it isn't always different. Sometimes it is a new wrinkle. There's different ways of saying things. I'm very big on, you know, self-esteem. If you identify a problem in a player's game and highlight it to them and continue to harp on about it, you make their awareness of it so much greater. In other ways, you've almost got to kind of look to try and do things around other parts of their games. Let's take Carl. Let's say, oh, I'm going to work on your volleys. But actually, it's your serve you really want to identify. But actually, you do it in a way that isn't just solely devoted to, like, his serve, which makes it even a bigger issue when it starts going wrong in a match. So I think there's a skill, like I said, there's so many different skill sets as coaches for the different developmental stages. And that's why we see players, great players, having had so many coaches, because it isn't easy to do it all the way through.
Men's singles quarterfinals at the 2018 Australian Open. Grigor Dimitrov has been here and done it at this stage. Carl Edmund is playing in his first major quarterfinal. Mark Petchey alongside me, Rob Koenig. 7.5 hours. His last 3 matches have all been over the 3-hour mark.
I think one of the differences, going back to saying how do I see it going,
15-0.
I would say that Grigor is a much better mover today than any of the other opponents that he's played in this tournament so far in terms of his defensive skills, particularly his forehand return. I think will be another crucial factor for Edmund to have to counter today. Saw it against 𝕽𝖆𝖆𝖔𝖘𝖆𝖛. We see how well he can drive that return even when he's rushed, and that's been a big positive for Carl here at the Australian. No great surprise he's done that. It's been a feature of Dimitrov's game, particularly here in Australia, the second serve that has been looking a bit fallible. He is much shorter in depth in general than, say, somebody like Federer with that second serve. It is a bit predictable. Carl getting after it very early.
That's something that Mackenzie McDonald did in their second round matchup. He planted that seed of doubt. Came in a couple of times, remember that, Mark, behind the second delivery?
I've spent a lot of time doing analysis of various players. I mean, Grigor on his bad days can have ½ meter differential with his ball toss on his second serve. That's going to throw your rhythm off.
This is that slice of luck you need,
30,
perhaps
40.
at the start of one of the biggest matches of his career. Always want to start well as the slight underdog, the less experienced player. I always think those first 6 games are crucial, Mark. Settle yourself into the match. Feel like you belong. Grow that belief. Edmund's got a break point here.
First real test of A, the strategy from Carl, and B, Grigor's second serve. Woof.
I think we saw the answer to both there.
Yep. And that's where I'm saying Grigor's a better mover. He's happy to trade into that forehand side because he backs his foot speed, and well, as though he was just jamming his foot down there as though it's a little sore. There. No, scrambling's going to be crucial today. I mean, Dimitrov's forehand against 𝕽𝖆𝖆𝖆𝖆 was absolutely magnificent. I mean, the force that he took it into 𝕽𝖆𝖆𝖆𝖆's forehand with was exceptional. It is kind of rare to see that much pace consistently without producing unforced errors, but that at times is as valuable.
Great defensive skill. Wow, just 113 kilometers an hour. So, Mark, if there is such a big differential in the ball toss, as a player, can he not feel that and then catch it and reset?
Well, obviously you can, but I think, you know, he's one of those players that tends to get after it and hit it. And I think perhaps even by stopping all the time puts an even bigger doubt in his mind. So that's why he goes after it.
That's world class. But that's not a good sign there. He's just limping a little bit, Mark.
Well, I'd say he's limping a lot.
Advantage, Edmund.
Given that this is just the start of the match, it is an excellent point and a terrific finish from Edmund. But 2.5 hours, which this surely would take to take care of Dimitrov with a problem physically is not great.
Again, Edmund.
Good start for the Brits.
First game.
And when you mentioned 2.5 hours, that's probably best case scenario, isn't it? This could be a long drawn out affair. Both the previous matches went the distance. Actually gets into a pretty good position on his serve. I like everything about it. The ball toss is good. Good drive with the legs. Just drops the head a little bit, but stays up quite nicely.
Yeah, I agree. I would say the only thing, there's quite a big difference between the racket at the bottom of the swing and the ball toss right at the top. It's got a long way to go from the bottom of his swing to the top. You look at Federer's, I reckon there'd be less that could go wrong in terms of the timing of the ball.
Out. 15 left. Mr. Dimitrov changed the call on the left baseline. The ball is called out.
Jana Chichek making the overrule there. Dimitrov's already walked across to the other side of the court, so he thinks he's missed it. Ciampa getting in the game early.
Mr. Dimitrov has 2 challenges remaining.
So I'm interested to see how successful he is with the slice today. He's been above 60% of his backhand slice today, to date, through to this stage of the tournament. And last year, you look at the world's top 8 at the World Tour Finals on hard, he was the highest in terms of percentage using that slice of any of the players there at 50%. So he's gone even more to it. But Carl's forehand has that kind of Nadal-like racket head speed that we've seen over the years. Slice doesn't work that effectively against.
Game, Edmund.
A perfect start with Kyle. Box looking pretty happy.
Edmund leads 2 games, 2 love.
Danny Valverdou, Grigor's coach, of course, is with Andy Murray for a long time, as well as Thomas Berdych, who's also in the quarterfinals here. Take on Roger Federer next. That is crisp.
Yeah, and obviously Roger with a great record against Thomas coming in, but I have to say, having watched Thomas a couple of times so far in this tournament, he's playing about as well as I've ever seen him play. So it'll be interesting to see how competitive he can make it. Set points, match points last year in Miami.
Yep. Does that make it better or worse, though?
Yeah, well. You sound like a fuel gauge, always pessimistic.
I'm just asking the question. You know what it's like when you've had match points against someone and you haven't converted. He's lost the last 8.
Oh,
look who's in the house.
Wow, he's a long way from home, isn't he?
Is he doing some work for a change here?
No, I don't think, looking at him, he doesn't look like he's doing any work, no. In fact, I don't think he's worked since he retired.
Tim Henman, of course, that was. I tell you what, Mark, there's a lot of nice golf courses in this area, and that might be a big pull for Tim,
40,
right?
15.
Enjoys his golf. Oh, that
Dimitrov.
is world class. Single-handed backhand in full flow.
Edmund leads 2 games, 2-1.
2-1 though for Edmund, first set with a break.
Yeah, so this is emotion. I just think, you know, like, look at the differential between how high the ball toss is and his racket. It just, listen, he's got good enough timing. He makes it more often than he doesn't. I'm just saying, if you were to say, is there an improvement to be made? Yeah, I think maybe, possibly, it could have been a slightly sort of shorter swing and still generate the power, but there's nothing wrong with that, is there? Look at that flow through the shot. And the shot also, Robbie, that perhaps has been a little bit in and out, a bit intermittent in firing so far at this Australian, but he's still here, courtesy to his mental strength in the
Find your
quarters.
seats quickly, please. Thank you.
And as we know, in sport that counts for a lot, especially when your game is under scrutiny. Tight situations, you've got to find a way to win. Good champions always do.
Time.
So some Bulgarian fans, as well as West Bromwich Albion. Not sure there's a connection there, Mark. Was it Brighton and Hove Albion? I'm corrected.
Yeah, he's a big Liverpool fan, so yeah, I don't know where the Brighton and Hove comes from.
And I hope the loss to Swansea yesterday didn't bring down the mood for Carl. I was pretty disappointed with that performance as well, Mark. Bottom of the log they are. What has he done to improve the serve, do you think? What fine-tuning has been made?
Well, it's a really good question. I haven't had an opportunity to actually frame by frame his serve, because I mean, he's still got that little sort of, I don't want it's too extreme to call it a king, but it's not as smooth at the back. There's just a little bit of a stop, but he looks like he's smoothed it out again. He's already done it once, I think, in his career, where it's looked a bit smoother, but he's done it again. I know Freddie's obviously had him serving a lot, and that's obviously going to be crucial, but it's not like his other previous coaches didn't have him serving a lot as well. But maybe just a few things coming together, but I would say it looks a bit shorter. I don't think it opens up as much at the back.
Yeah, you want your palm down, don't you, when you take the racket back? Not open. So far, so good on serve for Edmund. Yet to lose a point on it.
One
think he's never needed a change. Is that forehand, although I believe his father at times had a few people in his ear saying that the way that he takes it back with that racket face facing down the court, same sort of stance as Novak and Stans, that perhaps he should think about changing it. Well, good job that Stephen stuck to his guns and didn't change it, because it is a world-class shot.
Game, Edmund.
As if on cue.
Edmund leads.
Yeah, you can see the back of the face of the racket there, but his timing is so good, and he's got much better at defending out of that forehand corner as well. He's got quicker. And the bottom line is that he will finish his career, Carl Edmund, with no regrets. He is one of those 100% guys.
15.
I saw that forehand on full display in Monte Carlo last year. I don't know if you remember his match against
Rafa.
It was incredible, Mark. And for a while there, he was the only guy to take a set off Rafa on the clay, wasn't he?
Yep. Yeah, he'll be top 15 at the end of the year, assuming he stays injury-free.
Does he play well enough on different surfaces for that to happen, Mark?
Well, the grass has always obviously been a bit problematic for him. The other surfaces, I've got no concerns at all. But, I mean, he could have won Paris last year, 5-1 up in the final set against Jack Sock, who did go on to win it. So, grass at the moment is... And I think that's more the movement than anything else, but it will come.
40, love.
Reaching the quarterfinals here, he's already projected to rise to a career high ranking around number 35.
Game Dimitrov.
Dimitrov currently playing at a career high ranking of number 3.
3 games to 2.
They're playing catch up in the opening stanza. Edmund leads 3-2.
And obviously, as you say, the ranking projected to rise to close to a seeding at the majors, and you would assume, even if you were to lose today, that before the French, you would be inside the world's top 32.
Is clay his best surface, Mark? It's so close between clay and hard.
I would probably say it's still marginally hard courts, but it's close.
Okay.
It's close. I mean, last year, it was his deciding set record that was really the big problem for Carl. Otherwise, he would have already been in the top 30. But yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure what. In fact, I'm not even sure I've seen what Carl says his favorite. I mean, I never understand why players actually tell the truth. What's your favourite shot? It's my forehand. Why would you ever say that? It's my drop shot.
It's been an entertaining 16 minutes here. Edmund serving well and hitting that forehand large. Always nice when your weapons are firing early on in a match of this magnitude. Got the early break.
15.
Speaking of serving accuracy, it's more of the same.
$15. $15, 30.
Great players, I always like to say, are so good at hurting you with that short central ball that they get. Edmund is no exception with that forehand of his. Love the way the angle of the body's leaning forward. Great momentum through the shot. no panic at net.
It's good to hear Carl vocal as well.
30.
You know, sometimes he can get just a little quiet in matches, and he's, you know, then it becomes a bit of a contradiction in terms of this style of game, as you keep saying, Robbie. Massive game, but then as a presence sometimes shrinks a little bit. But early on here already, you can hear it. It's great. Again, I think Freddie being such an extrovert is hugely important for someone like Carl.
Yes.
I remember that was something that Neville Godwin was working on with Kevin Anderson last season, and we saw it a lot from Kevin. Early stages of matches, just being positive. He's such a big guy. I think you're spot on with the Carl being a little bit more vocal.
Let's sense. Advantage, Dimitrov.
This is the first real test of his serve right now, because obviously as much as we look at the quantity of points, it is the big points that separate the very best players from the rest. And it's when you make your first serve under pressure. And how close do you get it to the line?
Game, Dimitrov.
Well, there's no first serve on that break point. And unfortunately for Edmund, he cannot fend that one off.
3 games on.
So after 6 games, it's a break apiece, and this battle is well and truly joined.
Yeah, and there was the kind of things we were touching on earlier, the ability to stretch out wide from Grigor, get the ball back into play, and then he's obviously rescued the court position he's lost so quickly, and that puts pressure on Carl's next shot to hit the winner. You've got to get a bit tighter to the line.
15 left.
And again, I think we saw maybe just a little residue of the old service motion there on the break point. It was flat, it was long, it didn't really have the snap down into the court, which of course isn't really a wrist snap, it's more of your pronation of your forearm. That's a couple of times he's hit the tape, and it's set up very nicely and invitingly for Edmund. Again, also important because of his good court position there. He was able to capitalize on it.
To have capitalized a bit more after such a good return.
15.
Again, you sense that the confidence that he built up throughout 2017 and the way that he finished off in being the best of the best at the World Tour Finals has allowed him to recover from that early breaker serve here and not put himself under undue duress mentally. Dimitrov looking very composed.
Game, Dimitrov.
He gets his nose out in front for the first time in this match. He's broken in the opening service game.
Dimitrov leads.
But he leads 4-3.
Here's the motion. Quite like it. Slightly delayed ball toss as well, which I think allows you to look down the court a bit longer. You can see the straight arm there. Little... And then right there is perfect. You know, he's got himself in a nice trophy position. And you know, sometimes, Robbie, we get a little bit too caught up. Good drive up with the legs. We get a little too caught up in minute details. But here, nice rock back. I actually think Chung could do a little bit of that, a little bit more. I think he can get more out of his serve. But he's keeping the hand down. You can see the knuckles up to the sky. He gets that racket into the throw position there. Time will tell whether that's good enough to take him to a major title or not, but it's certainly looking a lot smoother. But whenever you are working on something and there's definitely a bit of technique thrown into it, it's not easy to keep reproducing it in those big moments. He did so well against Kevin, being down a break in the 5th, to then continue to hang on to his serve in the manner that he did. So great against Seppi as well.
Edmund with some new balls.
Love. Please.
It's all about spin, that serve. It's carving around the side of it. Beautiful placement.
30 love.
And if your racket is open and a little flat at the back, you can't hit that serve. So, you know, that's what's been critical. Looked at his numbers. It's always difficult to take total snapshots, but when he played Monfils on grass, where obviously the serve is going to be of even more paramount importance in terms of your actually, he was at 50% in terms of being a meter from the line. That is just a ludicrous forehand. How does he get the angle coupled with the pace to keep that in and move it away? But we track the data for a lot of these top players, a meter from the line. So the service line, the sidelines on both sides. Addy was 50% on the deuce and 54%. I mean, Burdick the other day, just for a point of reference, was up at 75% on the ad side and over 80% on the deuce. And that's Federer territory, up in the 70s.
So 50% is low. So
it's low, yeah,
yep.
and therefore, if you're not hitting your spots well, the ball's coming back. You've got to play a lot more rallies. Simple as that. We don't tend to
40, 15.
break down shots into sort of where you go on the court. It's all about who has the best forehand of all time, who's in the top 5. But his inside in is, right now, I would say it's in the top 3. Dimitrov's.
Again, Edmund.
And again, Dimitrov doing what he does well, asking the extra question. It's Edmund responding well. Got to be patient from that end. The sun is not as tricky as what it is at around 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's still there. You're aware of it.
That could be a nice byproduct of the improvement in the serve as well. The overhead make you feel even more confident when you get up there. I love this guy's forehand.
15.
I love his flow on the ball. And I mean, his 1-2, serve out wide on the deuce, forehand down the line. Again, some of the best you'll see out on tour right now.
That is a must-have shot when you're playing Dimitrov.
15.
Executed to perfection. I love the fact there was no hesitation there, was there, Mark? Stand and deliver.
He started moving that backhand around a little bit more as well in the last. Was at times just a little too predictable because it's a very technically proficient shot, and he kind of got stuck in the 70% cross-court 30 down the line. Not probably enough to keep his opponents honest. But it feels at times he's more getting closer to 60-40.
15, 13.
It's a second double fault that is barely halfway up the net.
Yeah, well, he's going to serve a little bit quicker at times on that second serve, but I mean, Edmund doing absolutely the right thing. Tactically perfect, just getting after the second serve, making Dimitrov aware.
And again, being vocal is Edmund at precisely the right moment, sending a message to Dimitrov. He's just served a poor double fault. He's in his grill. Subtly in his grill. And he's got 2 break points as a result.
Ooh. Missed Edmund, the challenger call on the left baseline. The ball was called out.
Very close. It's worth a look. Dimitrov's pretty convinced that this one has missed the mark. It was a good strike.
30, 40.
Bulgarian is correct. Absolutely vaporized that forehand. It's got to be the biggest of the match, and what a time to do it. Edmund breaks, and when he comes out of the sit-down, he'll serve for the opening set.
Mr. Edmund has 2 challenges remaining.
Look at that mark, 166 kilometers an hour was the return. He's put 40 on the serve.
He's put 40 on the serve, and I mean, it had to be a winner from where he was. Don't underestimate how difficult that is to produce as a shot when it's that high above your shoulders to beat somebody like Dimitrov for sheer pace into a slither of the court. That is an extraordinary winner. Arguably, you won't see a better forehand winner this year on return.
And remember to keep that in the context of the match as well. It's a break point. It's not first point of the game. Fantastic. And it's such a double whammy, isn't it? Again, ramming home the message. Your second serve is weak. I'm going to go after it. That's why he gets the double earlier on in the game.
More good news as well, he doesn't seem to be sort of banging his shoe on the ground. He doesn't look as though that, whatever problem that was, blister, whatever it was at the start of the match, seems to be as obvious as it was. Maybe he's just hiding it a little bit better, but that was special.
Yeah, this match has come to life. Day 9 of the Australian Open. It's the first of the men's quarterfinals. A second breaker serve for Kyle Edmund, broke in the opening game of the match, but got broken back in the 6th. They'll try and serve it out now.
he just swung at it. Didn't need to.
Love 15.
Maybe he was just had one eye on his opponent moving after this, but he'll be a little disappointed. He's better than that. I wonder whether he lost it in the little bit in the shirt there of Dimitrov. I mean, it literally is that bright.
That inside in forehand that you're talking about, Mark. Beautiful shape to that shot, isn't it?
They both got great inside in forehand, but yeah, and he just, you know, it's so easy for both of them, I think, because they just take the net out of their vision. They don't have to worry about it because of the shape, as you say. It's the height over the net, so there's no concern. It's just about where to put it.
$15, 30.
Coached many great players throughout his career. His Freddie Rosengren, Robin Soderling, Mario Encic, Jonas Bjorkman.
There's those forehand returns I was talking about. He does that so well, Dimitrov, driving through the return,
15,
finding his
14.
opponent's backhand often, which is obviously going to be a much slower first shot after their serve, and it allows him to actually just wrestle control of the point.
As quick as you like. He's got 2 break points to break back.
$30, 40.
After you've been facing the Kyrgios serve, does it feel like you have more time when you're coming across someone who doesn't have the same sort of velocity? Must feel that way, surely.
Yeah, it's a different proposition, though, because he knows Carl's going to hit him a little bit harder after the serve as well, so it's still pressure. Got to say that I like the serve out wide here rather than the one down the tee, but he probably prefers it a little bit.
Yes.
That's the one that's been working well in the tournament thus far. It's tougher for the righty because you're actually going over the slightly higher part of the net. Textbook tennis.
I just wonder whether he hadn't have virtually fresh-aired the first volley in this game, whether he would have come in actually after the return, because the serve was great and the forehand was there begging to be hit, and he backed off. Just allowed Dimitrov to gain a little bit of position in the rally that he didn't really have at that stage, and he turned it around expertly.
3rd chance to break.
Mr. Dimitrov returned the call on the right center service line. The ball was called in.
Once again, I think it's the shape that's done the damage here. You couple that with the placement.
Yes. Mr. Dimitrov has 1 challenge remaining.
An excellent body serve, decent depth.
Advantage, Edmund.
Set point, Edmund.
Yes.
I think it was there. It was a positive way to lose the set point, if you like. And he's shown a lot of courage so far today on the big points.
That is very nice, especially given how awkward the return was.
Freddie, look how passionate he is about the sport. He's just, that was what I wanted to see. He's so happy, and probably one of those things that they've been working on in practice, and when it pays off in the matches, you just feel such a sense of joy.
Game of set.
A big first serve delivers the opening set for Edmund. He's a set to the good, 6-4 in 42 minutes.
Yeah, and deservedly so, and again throwing the serve out wide, and you could see Dimitrov was cutting off the one down the tee, and once you get a guy like Grigor guessing off your first serve, then you know you're doing something right. And I don't think it's one of those cases like it was against Kyrgios where you can kind of give up the serve out wide, perhaps on some of the big points, and just guess down the tee. The way that Carl's been serving here, that just hasn't been the luxury that he's been allowed. So despite a nice recovery for Dimitrov, there's been so much great tennis from Edmund, highlighted, of course, by the breakpoint forehand, which I'm sure we'll see in this little selection.
Good start for the Brits. I'll be delighted. And a quick look at the numbers. Mark, anything stand out for you?
Well, I think you go for a 4-to-1 ratio for Carl on his aces to double faults. That's going to tell you something. He's been historically 2-to-1 in terms of his matches. And look at Dimitrov, no aces so far. I think, you know, he's usually been 2-to-1 in terms of aces. So that's, if you like, 6 points that he didn't get because he hit 3 double faults, and that would have been the difference between the set for Dimitrov, you know. So second serves have been getting punished. Edmund at 36% of second serves, got to keep that high number of first serves in, and Dimitrov also under 50%. So puts pressure on your first as well when you know that your second's getting attacked in the manner that it has.
Dimitrov to serve.
Let's see how set number 2 shakes out. Dimitrov from the far end.
15 love.
And well at net so far. There's
30
Dimitrov, perhaps a little bit more of this is called for. 7 of 8 forays forward.
Mr. Dimitrov is trying to call on the left central service line. The ball is called out.
Had a long, hard look at that one, and perhaps Edmund's body language might have given something away. Nope. Close, but not close enough.
Faulty love. Mr. Dimitrov has 2 challenges to make. Again, Dimitrov. First game, second set.
That's a nice start. Was got to have selective memory as sportsmen, especially in this sport. Erase that first set, crack on.
Yeah, you're back at even. You know, obviously as a set unfolds, you know, it sort of generates its own momentum either way. And right now he can look at the scoreboard and he's 1-love up. Yeah, he's a set down, but at the same time, this is where experience is a huge part of it for Grigor. You know, he'll recognise how well Carl played in that opening set. He did the things that he could control very well. He eroded a lot of points off the second serve of Edmund. I had this at 60-40 for Grigor coming in. You know, and just the fact that Carl's won that opening set, I think would probably make me feel like it's 55-45 Grigor right now. He'd still be the favourite.
That's the Mark Petchy win predictor. You can find at www. Of course. So much to digest.
Did I tell you I was marketing it, or did you just find that out?
Shh, just found out now.
Again, you're not going to necessarily see Grigor win this match just through pure ball striking and shot making and winners. You're going to see him win this potentially through that type of scrap. He's become so much better at it.
Freddie not happy. Expects a lot from his charge. Servers work well all tournament. Well proportioned athlete is Edmund. What's he, about 6'2", Mark? Strong legs, that's the engine room of any tennis player. Broad shoulders. Don't want to be too heavy in the upper body. You've got to carry that around for a couple of hours.
That was a smart shot.
30-40.
Kind of goaded him in, and again, I think Dimitrov backs himself to cover that shot down the line. I know it's a big forehand, but I think he just gave him the perfect ball there. No pace, low down. Defense arguably more important than attack in tennis. Andy Murray would subscribe to that theory, I know, and so it proves to be for Dimitrov there.
He must be a Man United fan, that Andy Murray guy then.
He's an Arsenal fan, I believe.
Is he? They play attacking soccer. I thought he would be in the Jose Mourinho mold. It's all about defense.
Well, you've got to have the blend. I think even he'd be the first to say that he's a triple major winner and a two-time gold medalist because he got the blend right. He's also a Hibs fan, of course. We better make sure that, in fact, I think a Hibs fan first. Let's.
Love 30.
Oh, that is so sweet. It's not an easy shot.
You don't think? The inside out down the line. It's not one that is easy to perfect, and you could see Dimitrov's reaction. Couldn't believe how good it was.
So easy to fade that wide, isn't it? Pure strike.
Love 40.
These are the moments, aren't they? And these are the
15,
ones where
14.
you really do need to focus 1 point at a time, because if Dimitrov can drag himself back from the abyss here in this particular game, this is going to give him such a lift.
$30-40.
Didn't need to go. It's so easy to sit here and criticise that shot, but he did not need to go anywhere near the sideline there, Carl. He did a great job of getting back a serve that was a whisker away from 200 Ks, and he was in good position on that backhand. Up the middle of the court there would have been fine, or a metre to the left of the middle.
Yeah, we saw both Djokovic and Chung do that so well yesterday, didn't we?
Yes.
Smart, really smart, courageous, great execution, considering he's had a bit of frailty on the second serve.
I'm surprised he doesn't hit that one a little more often, because it's the kick serve that is often the very weak one from him. Go with the aggressive slider.
Yeah, it's still tough on the ad side to hit a clean winning forehand return off that. I agree. I mean, a lot of big servers go tee because you're going to get a central return, and it's a better chance of getting your +1 as your forehand straight away. So why not, as you say, do it more on your second?
Again, Dimitrov.
Slightly early strike, proving to be very effective. Dimitrov has bounced back beautifully. And he leads 3-love. Second set, but it's Edmund 1 set to love.
Time.
Sport is all about bounce back ability, and that's exactly what Dimitrov's been able to do, not only in the set, but in the last game. Down love 40 on serve, managed to hold. And Edmund under pressure. Suddenly this becomes a must-win service game for him.
Love 50.
Well, that's very good at the end of the range with a single-hander. It's tough to execute.
Love 30.
That's why pace, we talk about pace a lot. That's why you need pace, because in that sort of situation, if you don't have enough pace, you can't beat your opponent. They can get there easily.
15, 30.
Starting to feel the ball, isn't he, when he's trying to hit shots like that. That's a little bit of a warning shot across Carl's bow as well, about how often he's going out to that forehand side. Got to be careful to overplay that forehand, I think.
30, 40.
I mean, he is, by doing it, obviously perhaps creating a bit of a channel down the tee when he decides to go there, because Dimitrov may be leaning that way because of the frequency of him serving there, but we'll wait and see.
That is a virtual set point that.
Yes.
Was Dimitrov not happy about the bounce?
I don't know.
Well, because the serve was definitely in, wasn't it?
Well, Carl said something to the umpire as well. It definitely was serve related. Maybe just annoyed that he's got a piece of the line, Mark.
Terrific serve.
Advantage, Edmund.
Well, that first serve has been outstanding in this match, hasn't it? He's made 72% first serves. He's just got to make sure he's effective when he lands it. He was in the opening set, but it's not as impressive in the second set. It's down to 50% of the points won now behind the first serve, hence the scoreline. Great off-the-ball movement from Dimitrov. Perfect understanding of how much trouble he had his opponent in.
Dimitrov.
He's got lovely flow to his game, hasn't he? And again, as you say, this ball there just kept moving through the shot, and that allowed him to take up a nice position, a meter inside the service line, and made that shot very easy.
Yes.
Pressure there from Edmund.
Didn't actually need to hit that shot. Could have gone up the middle, I think, because Edmund was deep running in. He had taken a long time to decide that that was the move he wanted to make, and he actually would have been playing that off his shoelaces had Dimitrov gone back up the middle of the court.
Mr. Dimitrov turned the call on the right baseline. The ball was called in.
Felt in.
I thought so too. Dimitrov not so much. That's probably why. More out than in.
Advantage. Edmund.
99% out.
Mr. Dimitrov has one challenge remaining.
He's 100% in our sport.
Let's listen.
That was a Becker-like return.
Yes.
Strong in the forearm. Abbreviated swing.
Let's listen.
Such a good forehand. Oh my.
Advantage. Edmund.
Right idea, I think, from Dimitrov. He wants to find different paces, different spins off the return. He doesn't want to get sort of locked into blocking too many balls back. He wants to make sure that Edmund at times is taking a step back after the second, but found the forehand, and that was terrific.
In game, Edmund.
Important holds for Edmund. Fights off a couple of break points and stays within touching distance.
3 games to 1.
I often comment on the fact, Mark, we see some of the biggest turnarounds in matches when a player's about to go up a double break. And we know if Dimitrov goes up a double break there, the set's pretty much done and dusted. All of a sudden, Carl's, you know, he's there again. It's only one break. If he breaks here, we're back on serve.
The
only thing I will say that, if you can see the glass half full, is that he's taken a little bit more out of the legs of Edmund. And as you said right at the start, he's had a couple of 5-setters. He's in unknown territory. There would have been a little bit more of an emotional drain prior to this match because of the magnitude of it. And the longer that Dimitrov is out here with Carl, just staying competitive, just taking a look, you kind of feel that's going to play into his hands deeper and deeper as we go down the stretch.
15.
But if he does drop his serve, obviously, then all bets are off again, because that advantage that he had, both psychologically and you felt form-wise there, the way that he was looking for the ball at love 30, will suddenly dissipate.
$30-15.
Coach's corner.
Surprised by the angle, I think, there, Dimitrov. He was just a little late getting there, and here is a bit of pressure developing very quickly after those chances he had.
40-30.
That's a poor miss from Edmund. Plenty of time on that shot, didn't he?
Yeah, and it has been the unforced errors, hasn't it, that's hurt him in this set. He's still got 7 winners, 1 more than Dimitrov, but the 7 unforced compared to 3 have been crucial.
Again, Dimitrov.
Important hold, keep that momentum working in his favor.
Dimitrov leads 4 games to 1.
Dimitrov 4-1 second set. Well, that easy forehand miss from Edmund at 30-all. It's just giving Dimitrov a little bit of a reprieve there. Always easier to step up to the line 40-30 versus 30-40. So many little battles that get fought within this overall war of a tennis match. Got to handle those psychological highs and lows, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, over a marathon, which is the best of 5, there's going to be lots of them as well. And Edmund with a proverbial mountain to climb himself in this second set.
So many different activities that go on in and around Melbourne Park. It's become such an event.
Yeah, and it's nice that these 4 majors that we have so many different characteristics. I do think, hopefully, that they don't all get sort of too isolated in making sure that they keep all of their characteristics and don't incorporate some of the other majors' good ideas, because there's a lot of good ideas here.
Too true.
Arguably the most fan-friendly, I would say.
Get some food out in the French Quarter. Out there they've got an American quarter, an Aussie quarter, and an English one as well. So trying to cater for everyone.
English or British?
British.
British, yeah, just checking.
Okay. Same, but different.
There'd be a lot of people that would say, but different. No place for your boerewors, some brandy and cokes then.
15.
No, I know some local guys, Mark. It's the boerewors more that I'm missing the brandy and coke. I'm certainly a lightweight in that department, my friend. A top-class volley, or good volley is able
30,
to take the pace off the ball.
And that's why I say I think he's going to be top 15. Yeah, I mean, he can be a little better around the net, probably. He can probably defend the net a little bit better, but Rafa doesn't have to defend the net, does he? Too often he comes in, attacks it, one volley, finish. Why can't Edmund be like that? And I genuinely feel he can. I don't see a lot of holes in his game. I mean, he's got a decent slice. Maybe doesn't defend out of the backhand corner as well as certain players, certainly not as Chung, but then who else does defend like that? Maybe Djokovic, but he's
pretty good, that guy.
He was exceptional last night, but Chung doesn't possess the forehand that Carl has, so somebody's strength offsets somebody's, in inverted commas, weaker side or weaker ability.
He's 23 years of age is Edmund.
40, 30.
Dimitrov 26.
Again, Edmund. New balls, please. Dimitrov leads 4 games to 2.
And I find it fascinating when you look at their respective careers, given all the hype around Dimitrov in the early days, Mark. This is only his 4th Grand Slam quarterfinal. And he's 26 years of age.
Yeah, and well, success isn't a straight line, is it, Robbie? It's circular, it's backward, it's diagonal, it's every single different way at times before you find the solution to consistency. And yeah, it's taken him a little while, and I still think there's parts of his game that still need to be a little bit more solid for him to continue that success. A la his second serve.
I get the sense that he is starting to closer and closer to finding the formula for him. The formula of consistency, whether it be competing, whether it's focusing better on his tennis and no off-court distractions.
15-0.
I think that's fair. I think he's made some great decisions with Danny to go and practice with Rafa a couple of times as well, just to obviously tap into that intensity of practice on a little bit more of a consistent basis. Well, reaping the benefit
15,
of getting after that
30.
second serve, I think, and it's forced Dimitrov to feel as though he needed to do a little bit more with that one. And oh wow, he has got away with that big time. That was a miss-hit second serve that barely crept over, and I was a little surprised that Carl wasn't a bit more up the court there, just to take the risk. I mean, it wasn't that Dimitrov wouldn't have hit a 170 down the tee, but the chances are, after a couple of shaky second serves, that wasn't going to be the case. Had he been up the court, it was so short, that would have been an easy ball.
40, 30.
That was a missed opportunity for him.
Mr. Edmund is showing the call on right.
He obviously compounded it by actually missing the return itself in the end, but
𝕺 30.
It's one of those line-licking forehands.
Edmund has 1 challenge remaining.
Nice when you can produce them at crucial junctures in a set. Wow.
Yes.
See how left that was? I mean, one thing, Carl knows what's coming.
Advantage.
Has to know it's a kick
Edmund.
serve in that position, so he can run around it and crack a forehand. So that's going to make Dimitrov, but he was just reaching for it.
Yeah, 3 double faults in this game alone. 6 in total.
Freddie Rosengren will know that this is the heart and soul of this set right now. Got to capitalize on these errors.
Advantage. Dimitrov.
And again, every portion of a match needs to be played at times a little bit differently. And right now, when you see the fragility in Dimitrov's game, balls in court in that situation surely has to be at a print. Let him beat you at that stage. That's acceptable, but giving it away like that.
Again, Dimitrov.
He knows how important that hold was. Didn't play a good game. It's got away with it.
Dimitrov leads.
5-2. Dimitrov leads second set.
That was an escape. The last one at love 40, when he was down having broken to go 2 love up, was actually engineered by himself. That, however, was self-inflicted, the lack of chances taken in that game from Carl. And I would say, to be honest, that was his worst game of the match. His drop service game at the start of this second set, somewhat understandable. He'd been playing very aggressively. It's always easy to sit here and say, come on, you know, you got to go make those shots, big targets. But, you know, the way he'd won the opening set was taking his chances. He kept going after it and he missed a couple. And yeah, you'd love it not to happen, but it does. That, though, was his route back into the second set. And
Time.
he hasn't been able to be good enough to take it.
It's not easy as a coach or a family member. So you've got to bring your game face as well. Players look at you a lot these days. You've got to project the right energy. Dimitrov will be feeling pretty good about himself now. Hasn't played his best tennis in this set, but still finds himself 5-2 up.
50 love.
This is one of those big moments in the match where
30 love.
he needs to remind Dimitrov of his presence. He's reminded him there of his excellence on serve in terms of a couple of quality deliveries, but just the sheer vocal sound of the fight, I think, is important from Edmund.
Nicely done. And how good is Nadal at doing that?
40 love.
One of the best of all time.
He can lose a set comfortably, yet win the first point of the next set, and he's already giving a vamos.
Oh, that's gorgeous. He doesn't have as much bounce and kick and movement on his second Carl as others, and
40-15.
you can see here, taken on the rise by Dimitrov, slid the face of the racket across the ball. He had enough to work with there, and oh, that was beautiful. Superb timing.
40-30.
Very good volley. That ball rocked at him.
Dimitrov leads 5-3.
Watch how quickly this happens. Nice little camera angle there. Fisheye lens.
Good movement through the ball there, getting on his left leg. Sometimes he can be a bit on his right, making the transition.
Oh, wow. That is a very good opening point. It wasn't an easy smash.
No, it wasn't. Sometimes players on that approach shot can be just a little bit too much right leg and almost spin and almost go backwards first before they make that step forward. But that transition there on the last point of the game was perfect from Edmund as it was from Dimitrov.
You like to hop off the left leg, Mark?
At certain times, especially when the ball's low, yeah, because it carries you forward. And if you try and set on your right, you sometimes spin with your left back. Look at 𝕉𝖆𝖔𝖃 attacking the net. There's a prime example of someone with one of the best forehands of all time. And yet the reason that he struggles to volley is because he can't get himself there quickly enough because his left leg goes back and then it has to come forward. So that's a second wasted. And in this sport, that's probably 1.5 meters that you've lost getting to the net.
Staying within touching distance. Really knows how important that is. He wants to see Kyle get a crack at a second serve here, perhaps. Bit of scoreboard pressure. Deliver. How good was that?
30.
It was pretty excellent, wasn't it? Again, technically his backhand has improved over the years as well. Nice straight arms, and not too much can go wrong. And once he got given that pace, he was able to direct it down the line.
That
was good defense from Dimitrov just to hang on in there. Edmund will be kicking himself though. Set point for Grigor. Closes it out in the first time of asking.
6-3.
So after now 25 minutes, it's a set apiece. Dimitrov wins the second. 6-3.
Yeah, good maturity shown from Dimitrov, having lost the opening set, having come back in that. He never really got behind in the second set on the count and was able to just to find some of his best tennis. He was good enough to allow Kyle to kind of beat himself with some nice touches, as you can see here. And enough variety off the return and off the defense and on the attack just to keep Edmund honest. Just looking at some of the numbers for the match. And the numbers for the set there. Just too many unforced errors, and not that many, but just I think a couple of crucial ones. Obviously wasn't able to take the break points in that set, but arguably again I think Dimitrov played the break points exceptionally well, rather than it was a case of Edmund losing them in those situations. But second serve points won, just looking at that, there's been 21 served by Dimitrov, and Edmund has won 11 of them, 6 by double fault. So that's only 5 he's actually won, and I would say that that's a low number given the way that Dimitrov has struggled on his serve a little bit so far in the tournament. I think he should probably have just got another 3-4 points away from the second serve of Dimitrov, and in a couple of sets where 4 points separates them all, it's a substantial amount. I'd like him to be a little bit more aggressive on the second serve when
Edmund
he does get a look at one.
So it's game on here. Start of set number 3. Place in the semi-finals up for grabs. Looking to become just the 6th British man to reach the last 4 at a major in the Open era is Kyle. Andy, Tim Henman, who's here watching today, Roger Taylor, John Lloyd and Grigor Dimitrov being the others who have been there and done it.
Yeah, we have a rich tennis history, and that's largely due to Wimbledon, of course. But not massively successful by the number of names we've just thrown out there. It's not easy to go deep. I was surprised the other night when I was commentating on Kyrgios that Wally Masur, the only man since '87 that's actually managed to make 2 quarterfinals of the Australian Open. You know, Leighton didn't manage that, just 1, and obviously went on to the final. Pat Rafter, of course, also just the 1 quarterfinal through to the semis with Andre. And it's a difficult achievement. Again, the weight of expectation will be something that Edmund has to carry from this tournament forward. He set the bar at quarterfinal stages of majors now.
So 1 and 4 errors really starting to mount for the Brit.
Well, I'm not sure he's going to get a second serve here, but he's so late with this challenge. I mean, that is in the net.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Mark. Got to see the outcome of his shot, then only decided to challenge.
Well, that would disappoint Dimitrov. He knows.
Advantage, Edmund. Mr. Dimitrov has 2 challenges remaining.
That this is a game that Edmund has been a little untidy in, and he needs to capitalise.
Edmund.
Good energy.
First game, 3rd set.
So many nuances in a battle, aren't there? Showing good body language, showing intent and specific shots.
Yeah, when you have like a sort of cold autopsy of the statistics at the end of the match. You're absolutely right. You know, one thing that gets missed by a lot of the people that get a little bit too wrapped up in that is the nuance of when things happen and the momentum of that moment and everything else that goes with that. And that's a classic case there. You know, he doesn't hit the line with the serve. This third set could be going Dimitrov's way very quickly. As it is, he suddenly looks at the scoreboard. He's a set all, he's 1 love up.
15 love.
And suddenly the future looks a little bit brighter for him. But he's got to find a way to keep the ball in the court effectively a bit more.
That's a love. That's 15. Faulty, 15. Game Dimitrov. One game on.
Service so much about placement. Of course, it helps if you can couple it with pace, but what Federer's shown us over the years, it's certainly not all about pace. One of the best serves that sport has ever seen.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant from Dimitrov. He was in a defensive position, but he knew exactly the right shot to hit to put Edmund, who was on the attack, also on the defense as well. No pace, get it low, and he was on the way afterwards. Edmund perhaps just a little upright with that volley rather than getting down and living with it.
$15-all.
He'd be disappointed with the number of chip backhands that he's just missed at the start of this third set. Usually such a reliable shot of his.
That's 15.
Again, pace of the Edmund forehand perhaps at times lost a little bit on your TV screens there, and you could see Dimitrov just struggling with his feet to catch up to the ball.
movement right out of the top draw.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. He's got one of the best running forehands in the game right now. It's been a huge improvement, but that flexibility, incredible. If you were going to be a hard taskmaster, though, the only thing I would say is, where was Carl? There was no other shot on for Dimitrov. None. He had to go angle short. He couldn't, even if he'd gone down the line, I think you would have been able to run back and pick it up. Couldn't have hit any pace on it.
40-13.
What a response that is, though, yeah. And it deserved his coach to get out of the chair.
Let's go serve. Goose. Advantage, Edmund.
Once again, finding an ace just when he needed it. Oh, working the angles.
Edmund leads.
Nice way to close out this third game of the third set. Edmund, 2-1, he leads.
Ladies and gentlemen, find your seats quickly, please. Thank you.
Magnificent view of one of the greatest sporting precincts anywhere on this planet. And on a good day like this, there's no better place to be. Well, Mark, I think you get the distinct feeling that this set is going to be a major plot point in the outcome of the match.
I think it's going to be crucial. Will it be definitive? Not sure about that. Carl's looking pretty fresh. I mean, he's jogged to his chair, he's jogged out. I was a bit concerned that maybe after those battles that he's had, I mean, even the 4 sets against Seppi, that will take something out of your legs against the Italian brick wall.
Yep.
But he actually looks lively. I think he will last the duration if we do go 5.
That's proper net coverage, that.
So it's going to make Dimitrov think about a second serve out wide, isn't it? It was so short, and it was kind of what I was saying about how a few points he's actually taken off the Dimitrov second serve, apart from the double faults, because that's what he's capable of. I mean, that looked easy, really, to be honest. It was a couple of volleys, but he was never going to lose that point. Wouldn't mind seeing him get after it again here, if he could. was a really good return. And having been under pressure in his last couple of service games, that was the first chance he's really had to relieve it. He found the Dimitrov backhand. I think he should have just rolled the dice on his forehand. I'm going to back him to make it 70% of the time if he just revs it. And I think he was just a touch conservative.
Very natural there. That wasn't an easy volley, not with Dimitrov bearing down on him.
15, 13.
Good technique. Still lower, still just slightly relying on great hands, but as you say, absolutely perfection from Edmund. Pressure building here on Dimitrov. I'd say the one giveaway with Nick in his
30.
The way that he plays 𝖼𝖆𝖆 that maybe would suggest that he doesn't practice quite as many hours as others is his volleys. Because somebody with his natural ability, he looks as though at the moment he's not as secure as, say, someone like Kyle Edmund up at the net. And for me, with his ability, it's the simplest thing to make right. There's a lot of hours in the day, and you got to find things to do out there on the practice court to keep it fresh and fun.
Well, that's a lot of fun. That's an absolute ripper of a forehand.
30, 40.
Elected to stay home, and again, I think he's going to get a little bit of a read on the ball toss from Dimitrov, from that one that's going to kick down the middle to the one out wide, and perhaps that's what allowed him to stay home and crush the forehand. That was brilliant. I don't know what your take on it, but I thought Dimitrov did a magnificent job.
Yes.
I just thought Kyle had a half chance to come in early on in that rally, but Dimitrov's ability to turn defense into attack is such a great strength of his.
You're right. He thought about coming in as well. I think he thought, I haven't hit a good enough approach shot, I need to go back.
Advantage, Dimitrov.
But just going back to that point that you make there, Mark, in hindsight, he's lost the point anyway. So for future reference, take that chance under pressure. It's all on the other guy. As a coach, I think it's so important you digest those situations like that.
Game, Dimitrov.
Well, he's dodged a bullet there as Dimitrov. To honours even after 4 games.
Yeah, arguably that was the reward for consistent approach over the last 12 to 13 months as we see the unforced errors and 17 more for Kyle Edmund, but also for the work that he does away from the tennis court, in the gym, on the track, getting himself fit enough, flexible enough to hit those forehands from out wide. Salvaged the break point.
$15. 30 love. $30, $50. $40, $15. Game, Edmund.
Found some good rhythm on the serve. Been consistent and effective in this third set. Kyle leads 3-2.
Time.
Oh, beautiful beaches, beautiful sporting arenas. This city has pretty much got it all. The locals like to tell us, Mark, that it's the most livable city in the world.
It is voted that. Yeah, I don't think they're just telling stories. I think it is it's a fact.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
And who decides that?
I don't know. I don't know the makeup of the committee. I didn't dig that deep.
15 low.
Well, there's no doubt that is one of the better forehands in our sport.
Very low. Mr. Edmund is challenging the call on the left nearest set on service line. Ball is called in.
Yes.
That's your love.
Nice.
Thank you. Faults yellow.
Robbie Koenig is smarting, because I've just found an article saying that actually Melbourne has been ranked the most livable city for 7 straight years.
Straight out of Australian magazine. That's where my trust stops. It is very nice, don't get me wrong, Mark.
Economist Intelligence Unit, it's got nothing to do. It's completely impartial, unlike you.
Again, Dimitrov.
Always fascinated by those kind of things, because I think Durban's the
New
most
balls,
livable
please.
city in the world.
3 games off.
Depends who you ask.
Yeah, good job you're not on that committee.
No.
What we do know, though, is this is a very dangerous stage of the match for both. Settle halfway through this 3rd set, and no room really for error for either man here. Otherwise, there is no wriggle room left. They're going to have to win 2 straight sets. So,
Yeah, I get the feeling this set is more important for Edmund. I feel that Dimitrov's got a better chance of winning in 5. It's just my gut feel.
$15. Very low. Mr. Dimitrov is on the call on the right center service line. The ball
don't
is
understand
called
why
in.
he's challenging this particular serve, because he knows it's in. He's just so frustrated with the excellence from Edmund here. That's just a waste of a challenge.
That's yellow.
Oh, Edmund has defended well there. Absorbed all the firepower.
40 low. Mr.
Dimitrov.
Dimitrov has 1 challenge remaining.
Yeah, that was special balance from Edmund. He didn't overcommit. Opportunities to go both ways there, but he waited and trusted himself to be quick enough to pick up whatever shot Dimitrov hit.
Game, Edmund.
Nice speedy hold, always welcome at these kind of junctures in
Edmund
matches.
leads 4 games to 3.
Edmund leads 4-3, 3rd set. Of course, it's a set apiece.
Time.
Well, the bronze statue of Rod Laver just outside this wonderful arena, multi-purpose arena. Of course, in January every year, it's tennis that takes center stage here at Melbourne Park. Grigor Dimitrov trying to make it through to his 2nd semi-final here in Australia.
Let.
For Kyle Edmund, it would be his very first at any major.
Light vessel. Love 15.
That's nice when you can win that first point against the opponent's serve.
Yeah, and Danny's out of his chair here, and I just get the sense that he feels as though there's just a little bit of a flat spot for Dimitrov, the way that he moved to the backhand. And obviously, you look at the score and you think, well, how's that possible? But, you know, sometimes there's just certain fluctuations in matches or certain periods, and we're coming up to just 3 minutes shy of the 2-hour mark, and just the way that he got out of the chair there would suggest he's sensing something.
Love 13.
Well, a small opening has become a half chance here for Edmund.
Danny up again. Yeah,
15,
that
13.
was a good solid serve, wasn't it? 178, well within his power zone. That was controlled placement, really, more than anything else from Dimitrov. He wasn't looking for the free point. He was looking for a central ball off the backhand from Edmund.
Well, now half chance has become a gilt-edged opportunity.
15, 14.
Great serve.
30, 14.
Given how well that play had worked at love 30, the serve down the tee onto the forehand, you thought he might go back to it, but then I suppose in his own mind he was thinking, well, maybe that's exactly what Edmund's thinking, and he threw in something different.
Been an accumulation of pressure from Edmund on the Dimitrov serve for the last 2 hours. It's as simple as that, Mark.
5 games to 3.
Yeah, except you look back at his match against Carl in Brisbane, obviously, and he served 12 aces that day, but 9 double faults. And if you look at his start to the season, it's been a pattern. He's been 6 aces, 5 doubles against 𝖃𝖆𝖛, I believe. I think it was 5 aces, 6 doubles against Millman. He's been having struggles on that second serve all year.
Love 15.
Of course, the key in those matches, those guys have been able to keep it close, haven't they? John Millman did it. So did 𝖃𝖆𝖛. Give him plenty of wriggle room. He doesn't feel that scoreboard pressure.
$15.
It's one of my favorite patterns of play there.
15, 30.
As soon as he hit that inside-out forehand, he knew that the foray forward was on. He's got great urgency with his feet to take that ball while it's still above the heart of the net. Makes the volley so much easier. Big time tennis on a big time point.
Absolutely the right shot here as well. We talked a little bit in the match about maybe being somewhat semi-conservative with that forehand at other moments. Not there. He is absolutely smoked that, and Freddie loves it.
Poise under pressure.
40, 30.
Well, he's had 3 net calls today, Dimitrov, that's popped up beautifully for Edmund to finish off.
I love the fact he didn't try and hit it too hard either, Mark. Trusts his ball control. It's given him a set point. And that serve that he's been working so hard on in the off-season pays dividends at precisely the right time. Edmund with a 2-1 lead now.
Now both players leaving the court. One to regroup and one to try and not get too carried away about the possibilities of a place in the semi-final of the first major of 2018, but he's fully deserving of it. He's played some wonderful tennis there. He's used that forehand to great effect when he's needed to, and he's been tidy around the net on a number of occasions as well. That was big. And that was what you like to see from Edmund, controlling his own destiny with that forehand. He has the ability to hurt players even when they're playing the best, to take the racket out of their hand, but he did it at a very opportune moment.
And if those kind of forehands don't get you excited, nothing will. Especially if you got one of those flags in your hand.
Look at the numbers. First serve just ran away from Dimitrov, didn't it? And again, just feel like at times there's too much variety in the ball toss, and he can have, as can everyone, have a bad set, but perhaps he's more liable to it. I wonder whether also maybe just some of the exertions. Match against Mackenzie McDonald, Kyrgios was intense, whether he's just feeling a little weary in his legs, which can contribute to a lower percentage of first serves in.
And even the match against Rublev, Mark, even though he won it in 4 sets, was 3 hours and 4 minutes, that would have taken a lot out of him as well.
Yeah. Carl's had a brutal route through though, so you know, from that perspective he's probably on as even coming into this particular contest, and he does look a little bit fresher of the two right now, Edmund.
What a magnificent shot of this city.
Heading towards Flinders Street there. Train station and the tram station on the right of your picture as we head down the Yarra.
You've got the family in town, enjoying them.
Well, you're always going to bring your family to this, you know, the most livable city in the world, Robbie. if you get an opportunity like that. He's looked composed, he's looked calm. Can he continue to keep that composure as we head down the final straight of one, possibly two more sets for Kyle Edmund? Block return from Dimitrov on the outside was fairly errant, and you would feel he's going to have to tidy that up, get more balls back in the court. Otherwise, that feels like a very solid go-to play for Edmund. Obviously, it's a good serve for him, and one that maybe he hasn't hit as well in the past, but because he's getting the block back, he's able to get his forehand into play very quickly in the rally, which means Dimitrov's got to take a step back, and he's got to defend.
Not too much room to maneuver now for Dimitrov.
Fourth set. Dimitrov to serve.
Start of set number 4.
Please. Look. That's it. 30-15. $40-15. Again, Dimitrov. First game, fourth set.
Clean start from Dimitrov. Interesting to see whether he does anything different here, or he's just in his own mind decided that he just needs to do what he does a little bit better than he managed to do in that third set. $15 left. That's hello.
It's important start of this fourth set, isn't it? There's no letdown from Edmund. The last thing you want is to allow Dimitrov to get off to a fast start here.
I just think he's a little confused at the moment, Dimitrov. That was a long, hard stare to Danny there, and in his coaching corner, and you know, it was one that said, "I'm not sure what to do with that." Oh, my goodness. That is a blistering winner. That was not a bad return. Had nothing on it. Very few players in the world can generate that much pace off a ball like that.
Yeah, Nadal said in Monte Carlo when they played last year, it's one of the biggest forehands in the game.
(40-15).
Right now, Dimitrov's just got to make himself extremely difficult to beat. He's just got to come with good energy, good intensity on every single point here, and just keep Edmund out here for as long as possible.
Game Edmund.
Tough to defend against that shorter shot-making mark.
One game over.
Even if you are as quick as Dimitrov and flexible as he is.
Yeah, it's like the manager saying, "Go man, mark Messi," isn't it? I mean, it's like the impossible task. I mean, it is that big that if he decides that he wants to hit it like that and he finds the target, you can't get there.
Left.
Nicely done.
30-11.
Always got to be looking for potential little change there. Surprising that he didn't run a little harder for that, Edmund. Hopefully that was just one of those where it was a little quicker down there on the court surface than it appeared on the TV screen, because
40-11.
and I know you have to be selective in a match that could go to 5 sets, that has the intensity that these two have, but he kind of gave up on it a little bit early. He has had a brutal route through, as has Dimitrov.
Game Dimitrov.
Quick hold there for Grigor.
Dimitrov
He
leads
leads
2-1.
2-1 in this 4th set. Edmund, more importantly, by 2 sets to 1.
Time. 15 love.
Again, a great serve from Edmund, tight to the line. Been a feature of his run here.
Pots. Leave the ball, please.
One of the rare bad shot selections by Edmund off his forehand side. He caressed the ball up the line and it just
15.
allowed Dimitrov a full swing at the single-hander, and then after that he was on the chase. Outmaneuvered himself rather than Dimitrov doing anything particularly special in that point. Same exact speed as he hit the first one of this
15.
game. This is good serving from Edmund.
First serve percentage for the match, a healthy 67 for the Brit. That's big time hitting. And again, surprised with the shot selection at the end from Dimitrov.
40, 15.
Yeah. And I don't know whether that was just because he was desperate to finish the point because he had absolutely nothing left, or whether he just felt that good he thought he would make it. Terrific resolve being shown here by Edmund, though. Great serving on that due side. I mean, peppered the tee, landed the one out wide within an inch of the line, and he's looking good.
2 games on.
Yeah, he's like a good baseball pitcher, isn't he? Just changing things up enough so the batter doesn't know what's coming next. And knowing when to throw that change up, and it's such a skill to have. Great players got that instinct, so well honed.
Light for serve. Love 15.
He is starting to pummel Dimitrov into submission here.
Yeah, that's just not a great place to stick the ball to Carl. I mean, he can hit a winner from there, no problem at all. And when you add it to the length that he's just landed that one with, there's no chance for Dimitrov.
I think we both know what Tim Henman was thinking about when he saw that forehand.
15.
I wouldn't mind one of those. Just taking a page out of Edmund's book here. Taking all the pace out of that serve, just adorned it with all manner of spin.
Well, the moment's arrived, hasn't it, for Edmund, really, because Dimitrov here is just playing some, yeah, and no wonder Freddie's pointing to his head. Think. Balls in court, good length, wait for your chance, because Dimitrov here is fraying at the edges.
Thirty, 40.
And it gives an opponent, when you're giving off body language like this, just the extra bit of impetus to make the ball, no matter what. Edmund did a fine job there.
It's got him a break point. Edmund breaks, and how crucial that could prove to be. He leads 3-2, fourth set, and by 2 sets to 1. Well, Mark, I mean, that was all over the show in that game, wasn't it? Miss hits galore and big misses.
Big misses, bad shot selection, fatigue, perhaps. That's one of the few times in recent memory I've seen Dimitrov, maybe a bit harsh to say throwing the towel, but it certainly looks as though he didn't have the appetite for the fight at all in that last game. And, you know, it was interesting, Freddie saying, you know, think. Edmund went back on that second serve on Deuce, gave himself plenty of time, didn't run around it like he did in the opening set to go up 5-4. He hit a high ball with, you know, good depth, and it was like, I think you're going to beat yourself. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, it was good coaching, good thinking from Carl himself, great execution of a nice conservative strategy. You've got to play the moment, and he's done that beautifully.
Happy days if you're a British supporter at the moment. Carl Edmund, just a couple of decent service games away from his first semi-final appearance at a major.
Unlucky. That was a far more determined point there from Dimitrov. Could be too little too late, but he's at least shown a positive reaction to the desperate situation he finds himself in.
There's an intelligent shot.
Love 30.
It is so effective. Hard, deep down the middle when you're in trouble. Again, alluded to it early on in the match, how well did both Chung and Djokovic do that yesterday evening. Using the athleticism to stay in the point. How well did he do to keep his concentration there?
How good was the backhand off the return, though? Because the return was exceptional. I mean, it was of the highest quality. A great effort there from Dimitrov. And this could have been the turning point. I mean, you can go either way there. Karl went and Dimitrov stayed home, and as you say, managed to keep his composure on the volley. This is terrific from Dimitrov. Karl really hasn't done an awful lot wrong. He was right to take the forehand down the line on the first point of the game. He just missed it. Dimitrov with a small opening here to get back on serve in the fourth set.
Grigor Dimitrov goes down into lockdown mode.
3 games over.
Refusing to miss. And just like that, it's honours even here again in set number 4.
That's a terrific game. It kind of makes the last game even more bizarre, doesn't it? Because you look at the way that he's dug in there and he's been dedicated and disciplined to the task at hand, and to have thrown away his service game in the manner that he did. And you just wonder what was going through his mind. But he can't change that. But what he can do is to look forward to the future with a bit more confidence now, and the new balls.
15 love.
Oh, he's used the full length of the court here.
Baseline, ball's called in.
Was that in?
I don't know if Dimitrov's just challenging Mark because he's annoyed. And it's got a piece of the line.
What a shot.
15 all.
Like if there was a... There's obviously a Hall of Fame, but and a tennis museum.
Thank you very much.
Just to finish that thought, there's tennis museums obviously around the world, at Wimbledon, the French and Wales. That forehand of Karl Edmunds, that should be in one already. It is a work of art. It is just truly majestic.
"17 forehand winners to 10, out muscling a Bulgarian.
Will he drop deep, as he did on the break point in the last game? Or is he standing up? He's coming in. Oh, actually like the other play. He's looking so comfortable in those rallies.
I like that second serve from Dimitrov, rather than going for the kick one or the body serve. Go with the slider. Generally gets a bit more pace on it. You can see that one, 157 for a second serve. Good cat and mouse game between these two.
anything other than a second serve. Don't want to talk over the pictures, but go back and look at that ball toss if you can rewind your TV screen, because, I mean, it was impossible to go to Carl's forehand. Impossible.
Yeah. Oh, it's so right, that ball toss so far left.
Smart serve. I mean, a lot of these big forehands arguably don't necessarily always return as well as they do off the backhand, which is a much flatter hit, easier to know where your racket head's going to be on contact. And actually, when you get into that forehand quickly, the cover from the grip can be a little bit quick, and Carl there just turning that one into the net. Again, slightly mishit. You've seen Federer do it against how many players, Robbie? I mean, Ferreira is the obvious one. One of the best returners, but big points. How often do we see that serve into the forehand from Fed? Even if they do make it, a lot of time it's mid-court off the return.
Game, Dimitrov missed. Edmund is showing the fall on the right center service line. The ball is called in.
Carl not convinced. Still wants to look at it though, but that is good for both boxes. That's how accurate it is. And a massive hold once again in the context of this match. Dimitrov leads 4-3 in the fourth.
Time.
Huge service game now for Edmund.
15 love.
Perfect start, Mark. After losing serve, losing a bit of momentum, he just needs to steady the ship, doesn't he, here?
Yeah, and he's also got to recognise that, you know, Grigor played a good game to break him. You know, I don't think he did an awful lot wrong, to be honest.
Edmund below 50% on second serve, points won. That was his first double fault of this set. Striking has just not been there for him today. It's been there in fits and starts. It's been consistency for long periods of time with Dimitrov.
Likes his cricket. That would have been a decent slip catch.
𝕽𝖆𝖆. 𝕽𝖆𝖆. Mr. Dimitrov is on the call on the left baseline. The ball is called out.
This is a let-off, isn't it, at the moment? He might not get out of the game, Edmund, but he's getting let off a little bit here. A couple of untidy shots and a couple of missed forehands from Dimitrov. I think this was long.
𝕽𝖆𝖆. Mr. Dimitrov has one challenge remaining.
Such an intelligent second serve there, Mark.
4 games over.
Yeah, he was nervous, and sometimes that serve there, you know, when you're nervous, it's actually a little easier to throw your arm of the ball around the outside of it and keep control, rather than trying to rip up the back and lose racket head acceleration, as we saw with the double fault earlier in the game.
Man, that's why I think Dimitrov could learn from that and apply a similar sort of serve, especially to the outside when he's tight.
Well, the problem is you got so much court to cover when you don't hit it well enough against Edmund's forehand, because he's got options, he's got over you, he's got round you, and I mean, he has just nailed that. He's got so much work on it. I actually think Dimitrov took his racket away, but because it was so high as it went past him, but the dip. Was impressive, as was that, because he's come into this game with a couple of loose forehand errors in the last game, and he needed to make that. Misses that, he's love 30, and he's in a world of pain potentially.
𝕼𝖆𝖆.
I like the direction of this backhand, not too close to the line, but still aggressive in the swing of the racket head.
Yeah, and it's you said it earlier, it's an important shot for him, always, not just against Dimitrov, because if he goes down there, more often than not, the opponent's going to have to go cross-court, brings his forehand into play.
Edmund is on the call on the left near sideline. The ball's called in.
Oh my, this was close. It was spinning away.
It was.
I mean, the spin was not taking it into the court. It was taking it away from the line. He almost looked like he challenged himself. Well, what is it? It's out, isn't it?
It looks out to me. Oh, come on. Well,
15-40.
just shows you right there the margins that we're dealing with in our sport.
Thank you. Thank you.
How good was that from Hawkeye? I don't know if that was unintentional, but that was like a magnifying the tension by ×10, wasn't it?
Brilliant, wasn't it? Keeping us all in suspense. Edmund, just a decent service game away now from a place in the semi-finals of the Australian Open. He leads 5-4, fourth set. And I like the body language there from Freddie. Not getting too pumped up, just a well done.
Yeah, I agree, Robbie. Listen, he's been there and he's managed players through this process, and he's, I think, the perfect foil for Carl in these kind of situations. And this will not be an easy service game for Edmund to come through. You know, no matter what some sports psychologist, your coach is going to tell you at this moment about how you've got to stay in the present 1 point at a time, he knows, he's well aware the fact that he is, as you say, just one good service game away from a place in the semi-final, and that is a massive, massive achievement. And Dimitrov still hitting the ball okay, but certainly not as well as he would have liked to in this match. So if the opportunity does arise, or there aren't any cracks in the veneer of what seems to be a fairly impenetrable sense of invincibility for Edmund out here, then I think Dimitrov will take it.
Well, this will be one of the biggest service games of Carl Edmund's career. Bidding to record his first victory against a top 5 player.
Thank you.
And a place in the semi-finals of the Australian Open up for grabs.
Well, it was an elaborate slice.
Love 50.
I'm not sure just how intentional it was, or whether there was nerves attached to the swing or what, but it was certainly effective.
$15-0.
Can hear a fair bit of wind at times in the effects mic, which may be just throwing Dimitrov off in his control. Again, another forehand surprisingly missed long.
$15-13.
Once again, cheap point from Dimitrov. Edmund will take it with open arms. Needs a first serve now again. How big is that? 13th ace. It's Edmund to match points. He's done it.
The call on the right baseline. The ball was called out.
He's not sure. Carl's not going anywhere. Oh, his fitness coach has said it's out.
Carl Edmund is a Grand Slam semi-finalist for the first time in his career. And for the first time, he takes down Grigor Dimitrov. 6-4, 3-6, 6-3, 6-4.
What a moment for Carl. What a tournament this has been. We've seen the birth of a couple of stars last night under the night sky here in Melbourne. Young Chung coming through against Novak Djokovic. In the daytime here in Melbourne, we see another one take another unprecedented step in their journey and in their career as Dimitrov exits Melbourne this year a round earlier than last year after that classic with Nadal. But for Carl Edmund, this is his time.
Best feeling in the world. All the hours and hours of hard work goes into moments like this. And a feeling of joy, look at it, etched on Freddie's face. Fantastic scenes. And it is always a team effort. So much goes on behind the scenes. Prepare your player as best as you can. And then hopefully you can go out there and execute.
And he did. That's the thing. And he worried Grigor. His forehand worries everybody.